What's going on, world? It's your boy Alex Miner, and today is a great day for Panasonic fanboys like me because Panasonic just announced the G95. It's everything that I pretty much could have asked for, way more than I was expecting in most areas. There's a couple of areas where it's a tiny bit disappointing, but the pros definitely outweigh the cons, and there's definitely some things that you should know if you're considering buying this camera, or maybe you still got your eye on a used G85 or a G7. So, first thing, everybody's going to want to know the price. $1,200 US with the 12 to 60 kit lens. That's the 3.5 to 5.6. You know they're not going to give you the 2.8 to 4 with a camera this cheap. So, that's the first thing. Price is $1,200. My bet is that's going to force the used G85 market down as low as $450. Because right now, I've seen G85s go for as low as $500. So I'm thinking with this price point and this new release, the market for those is going to drop down to about $450, rock bottom price without a kit lens. So if you're thinking about a G85, now is going to be the great time to pick them up. G7s are probably going to go down to $300, maybe even $250 in some cases if somebody's really desperate to get rid of it. So if you've been thinking about picking up a used Panasonic. Second thing, they've moved up to the 20 megapixel sensor. We think it's the same sensor that's in the G9. And they added the new Venus processing engine, so it's got better processing power, all that stuff. They added a headphone jack. Yes. Sorry for the noise, but I'm excited about that. They added a headphone jack. When have you seen a sub $1,500 camera with a headphone jack? Huh? That's big. That's big. You can monitor your audio. This camera is going to be great for shooting interviews and long form content like that. Another thing you need to know, we still have unlimited recording times. That's something that the G9 does not have in 4K 60, I think. And if you're wondering if this camera has 4K 60, I'm sorry to disappoint you. No, it does not have 4K 60, but it does have 120 frames per second at 1080. It has 90 frames per second at 1080 and 60 frames per second at 1080. This is like a special slow motion mode. So my guess is that those clips, if you use that specific mode, won't record with audio. It'll just be the video. And the one disappointing thing, well, the two disappointing things you need to know about that mode are that those clips will only play back on the camera at 30 frames per second, not 24 frames per second, which doesn't really make any sense. Most people who are doing that sort of stuff, we're going to want to see it at 24 frames per second, but you can easily do an adjustment in post. You just put it to 80% and then you'll get it at 24 frames per second. So not a big deal. The big deal about that mode is that there's no manual exposure control. It's just exposure compensation. And I'm sure that they can fix that with a firmware update. They're not at full production firmware yet. Maybe if we complain enough, they'll see that and they'll change their minds on that one. Don't know what kind of codecs that the camera has yet. Panasonic, please give us the 100 megabit per second 1080p on the G95, because I will tell you, I never liked shooting 1080p until I got my GH5 and started being able to shoot 1080p at 100 megabits per second. That's a game changer when you're shooting 1080p. That's a lot of information for 1080p. The picture looks so good. Autofocus still sucks. They're still doing the depth from defocus technology. Sorry to disappoint you. Panasonic has said multiple times they're never moving away from depth from defocus. It's their system that they developed. They're going to stick with it. They're never going to do hybrid autofocus. Yo, y'all are not going to believe this. They put Vlog on this camera. Vlog. You don't have to buy it. It's not a separate upgrade. It's included, pre-installed in the camera. Bad thing, camera only does 8-bit. I'm guessing that the deal with 10-bit not being on this camera is just they don't have the cooling technology in the body to handle the processing because it's so small. As far as outputs, we already talked about the headphone jack. It's still micro HDMI, but now you can output a 422 color space with an external recorder like a Ninja 5. You'll get a little bit more flexibility with your color in post because you got a 422 color space. You're gonna get better colors, probably less banding and things like that when you're in tough situations, but it's only 8-bit. Another thing that's very important for those of you who are professionals or maybe just own multiple cameras in the Panasonic line, this camera will qualify with Panasonic as a pro body. So G85, G95, GH5, GH5S, and the G9 are the pro bodies for the Panasonic line. Why does this matter? If you own this camera and another pro level body, you can then participate in the Panasonic Pro services, which lets you do things like get expedited service when you need to get a camera repaired and things like that, and they'll send you a loaner camera while your camera's getting prepared. Like, look into that. Panasonic Pro services, if you're doing this seriously, if you're doing this for a living, even if you're a YouTuber with multiple Panasonic bodies and you're out doing a lot, you're a professional. If you're doing YouTube for a living, you've got multiple cameras, you're a professional. So look into the pro services. I don't think you will regret it. I'm going to be looking into that. Those are all the things that I think that you need to know according to my cheat sheet. So what don't we know? Like I was mentioning earlier, we don't know what kind of codecs it'll offer. On the G85, 100 megabits per second was the maximum codec in 4K, 100 megabits per second. I'm praying that they give us the 100 megabits per second 1080p. I'm praying that they give us 150 megabits per second 4K, because that footage, even in 8-bit, just looks so good. No idea about the battery life yet. I'm guessing it's still going to use the same batteries as the G85 and the G7 because it's in that line. The body's almost the same. Oh, another feature that I forgot to mention, they now have dedicated white balance and ISO buttons on the top of the camera, similar to the GH5, the G9, GH5S. I'm excited. It's a good move, Panasonic. There's a couple of things that I don't agree with, but I think that's always going to be the case with these companies. There's always going to be something that you're not going to agree with. There is no perfect camera, but this is an exciting move for Panasonic. It shows Micro Four Thirds is not dead. But yeah, it's your boy Alex Miner. I got to go pick up my kids. I hope that you got something out of this video. I hope you're as excited for the release of this new camera as I am. Good times, y'all. Good times to be a Micro Four Thirds shooter. I'm gonna sell some shit and pick this camera up. I got a shelf full of watches here that I don't wear anymore, so we're gonna sell some shit. Get a camera. Yep. I will talk to y'all later. Peace.